And so now it's come to this. It has come to this. You know, I've always joked about making this video with my friends and my buddies, like, oh yeah, one day I'm gonna make that video where I'm just gonna be like, oh no, I quit my job for YouTube. But it's kind of a reality at this point, and I'm not clickbaiting you. I know plenty of you who are in the YouTube sphere always see people who are like, I quit my job, and realistically they're just like, I'm just taking a break, I'm not quitting. But the thumbnail of I quit my job looks better to attract you more so than just like I'm taking a break from YouTube, because less people would click on that and it would get less traction, and the more traction feeds the algorithm. Let me be clear, I did actually quit my job. So I'm gonna flesh out the entire story of how I got here. No drama happened, nothing bad happened with my job, but it's kind of a series of events that scaffold upon each other that really made me realize, like, I think I could technically work less and make more money and be more stable. So I'm gonna flesh that story out right now. And for those of you who've been with me for quite some time, and those of you who support me on the Patreon, I really wanna thank you, because I've recently done the math on how much money I make, and even though it's not an astronomical amount, I realized how much my 9-to-5 job makes, and it is a piss poor amount. It is a very small amount, and I think the only reason I've been able to survive on the level that I'm surviving now and bring you content and have a kiln and do my artwork and XYZ is because you guys support me on Patreon specifically. YouTube does not give me enough money. So for those of you who are supporting me on Patreon and interacting with the videos and things of that nature, I really, really thank you, because I did the math and I was like, oh man, they've been carrying this boat. I do want to tell you the full story though. For those of you who've been following me for quite some time, you know that I have multiple jobs. I edit my own videos, like the one you're watching right now, with a little bit of help with someone who just kind of spell checks my stuff and then puts little notes in the videos every now and then. And she usually denotes them by making her stuff different from mine. So if you see stuff like this, that's probably the person who spell checks my stuff and is the quote unquote editor. But 80% of the videos are edited by me. So I am my own editor. Suffice to say, I do technically have a job editing video for YouTube. I also run my own website where I sell a lot of my own products, and that is its own job in and of itself. I am also technically my own social media manager, even though I don't count those as jobs. And I run my own kiln and I make my own glazes. And along with all that, I have been working a 9-to-5 job as a cook. And along with that, I have a child who is just about to turn 2 years old. And along with all of that, I was teaching classes at a place called IMCO for quite some time. The Industrial Mineral Company for long. IMCO is the short version of that. And while I was doing that, I was creating classes that looked much like this and giving presentations and PowerPoints to really flesh out the points and the lesson plans of whatever I was talking about in the month block of lessons that I was teaching my students. So I was doing all of this. I was doing all of this at the same time while only having about 2 days off for work and family time. And that other work and family time that was not my 9-to-5 job was like making lesson plans for the classes that I teach and making YouTube content and making sure I post, which is why I only post like once every two days a week on Instagram and stuff like that. It was a lot of stuff, not only for me, but for any normal person juggling all these things at once. Something would have to give. Fortunately for me, the health insurance premiums just changed at my job, which means a lot of workers in California, and specifically where I worked at, the health premiums went up. So I had to pay more every paycheck, and I did some of the math, and it turns out if I just got on like covered California or at Medicare or Medi-Cal or whatever it's called for California, I could work less and still technically get paid more. Yeah, I think he kind of knew this was gonna happen because a lot of the workers there were also figuring this out. Also, before I get that guy in the comments below who's like,
nobody wants to work anymore, that's what's wrong with your generation.
I'll be real with you. I'll be so real with you. The amount of work that I could do at that place within a given day could be done in like 3 to 4 hours. The rest of the time is just waiting for orders to come in. And I bet you do that too. I bet you dick around at your job for like a couple hours, at least every single day, right? Playing on your phone, waiting for stuff to do, extending your work period by doing work slower. You're not putting 120% all the time and breaking your body every single day, unless you're a very specific type of worker. So I don't want to hear it. There's always one of you in the comments below. It's weird. You guys are the most own a truck but don't have any truck work to do people I've ever met in my life. While this one extra day off a week was going on, a company called IMCO, the Industrial Mineral Company, contacted me and was like, hey, you should teach classes with us. We'll pay you, don't worry. And that's when I started working at IMCO, teaching classes, making money on the side, much more than I would at my normal 9-to-5 job, teaching classes. And that went well for about 3 or 4 months. I was making lesson plans. I was talking to students about what I think is wrong with their throwing techniques. I saw massive improvements in my students, and I really got a grasp on how to teach a personal class. Because even though I've been your pseudo teacher for quite some time, and I've been helping colleges teach for quite some time, and I've been doing a little bit of high school stuff here and there, I haven't really had my own say-so in a class. And it was refreshing and great relief to me to realize, like, oh, I'm actually okay at this. I'm not like a horrible teacher offline and a great teacher online, right? I was relatively good at it. Somebody essentially saw this and poached me and came in and said, hey, please come work at this other place doing the same exact thing. The only difference is you will be in a closed community. I went there. I saw the closed community. It's fantastic. It looks like, I'm not gonna lie to you, it looks like heaven. And a lot of amenities came with that. Number one, I have a gym that is now open to me. I can just go to the gym. It's part of the enclosed city environment. I'm not gonna say what company I work for, although you could probably figure it out by listening to the podcast, The Mud Peddlers, that me and my pottery sibling do, Lindsay M. Dillon. But it comes with a lot of amenities. It has its own restaurant. There's 2 different hubs. The hubs are like 1.5 miles apart. Each one has a gym. They have indoor, outdoor swimming pool, a walking track, a sauna, a spa. It's very, very fancy. I'm not gonna lie to you. And it kind of comes down to the fact that I'm pretty much teaching pottery for people that are generally more well off than the average person. So much so that they live essentially in an enclosed community inside of a city. And it's like a city within a city, right? I have to commute to an entirely different city to get there. It's like 30 miles away. But within that city is the city that all these people live inside of. So now I work for this place. And this is kind of where it comes to a halt, because I realized at the amount that they're paying me, I make probably triple the amount of money I would be making if I worked a 32-hour work week at the job that I used to have for my 9-to-5 job. And technically speaking, I only work 2 days a week, 6 hours a day at the new job in the inner city, which is what I'm gonna call it from now on, the in city place. I could work 8 hours a day, 4 days a week at that job, making, I checked the other day, it was like $25K a year, right? Over there. Or I could work 2 days a week, 6 hours a day with a gym and probably make for half of the effort. As for my paychecks at my other place, my 9-to-5 job as a cook, were like in between 600 to 900 every single 2 weeks, right? For this place over here, the in city place, I think my last paycheck, and it was the beginning paycheck.
Hey, just working hard so I can please you.
$100 for 2 weeks of work, which, by the way, let's keep in mind that every week is only 2 days. So for 4 days of work, I got paid over a G, which is crazy because that's technically less than 12 or 10 hours of work. But this has left a giant hole in my schedule. You see, now I have 2 or 3 days more off than I did have with my other 9-to-5 job, and I make more money doing so. So now I have way more time for not only content creation, but lesson plans and crafting and making things and going to conventions. And I guess this is a very long-winded way of saying I have more time for you. I have more time to make more videos for you. I have more time to make more glaze reviews, more pottery things. Every now and then I skip a week of videos because I'm like, I just can't. It's hard to juggle baby and pottery and lesson plans and teaching a class and YouTube editing and this and that and running my kiln and making glaze experiments and being part of the glazing community, and then I have to go to conventions and I have to do this. Like, it's difficult. It would be difficult for anyone. And over the course of me doing it for 4 or 5 years straight while having this channel, it has been relatively difficult for me. I feel like a millennial version of one of those old head men who used to work in factories who are like, I work 10-hour days and then I come home to rest and then I go right back to the steel mill. I don't do that. I have 4 different jobs in which I work 3 hours per day on through my phone and social media, and I just compact 10 to 12 hours of work into my days off. You know what I mean? And it's just too many balls in the air. It would be easier if I just worked a 10-hour day at one job and made the amount of money that all my other 3 to 4 jobs in once make, right? And that's kind of what's happening here, is I quit my 9-to-5 job so that I could be a pottery teacher at this other place and continue to do pottery and ceramic art content, and then I can continue to make pottery and glazes. And you know, it's been a very long time, but it suffice to say, I'm quitting my regular 9-to-5 job for not only content creation, but for a job that has something to do with my content creation and making more money doing it. Realistically, it feels a bit surreal, if I'm being honest with you, and I really want to thank all of you who have supported me throughout the years and stayed with me. We went through some cringe moments where the audio wasn't good, and for some reason, a long time ago, I thought that talking like this to you guys was the way to get the way to get attention. I was like, hey guys, what's up? And then after a certain amount of time, I realized that nobody likes that, and I could just use my real voice all the time. It's just kind of crazy that I used to do stuff like that. So thank you for being on this ride along with me, and I guess now the real games begin.
Thank you for your patronage.